Hello.
Hi everyone. Welcome.
Let's talk about this. My goodness, like this past week, I've been talking with friends, we've been talking with a lot of potential clients. As you know, we have our free group, which is all about saving money. So if you have a $5,000 budget, we can show you how to turn that into a $500 or $1,000 budget and travel just as much. We also have our coaching program, which could teach you how to stretch that $5,000 budget into 25, if not $50,000 worth of luxury travel. And so, as you know, we talk a lot with different customers to see if, which would be a fit, our free resources or our paid coaching program. And I've been hearing a lot of this lately. We've had hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and, whether we hear it via email or personal conversations or even just from friends, we hear a lot of these things that just basically stop the idea of getting more out of your travel dollars. So I came up with 7 of the most common ones. Actually, I had a last minute entry. I have 8 of the most common ones that I thought kind of revolved around this Henry Ford quote, which is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I talk with so many people that say, I wish I could travel like you. And, as I get all excited and try to share how they can, they all kind of have this same process. Sometimes it's a different reason every time, but they're always just looking for one reason that they can't do it. I truly believe that those are just limiting beliefs that they're putting on themselves. So I put them into 8 different points that we're going to talk about today, and just see if any one of those resonates with you, and if just changing that perspective helps you stretch your travel budget farther, then I'm happy. That's kind of the goal of today. So, mindset shift number 1. People say, I refuse to fly Spirit, Frontier, Ryanair, Norwegian Air, B airlines. I mean, there are plenty of discount carriers, and sure, some people have had bad experiences with them and swear to never fly with them again. And I'm not here to convince you on what airline you should or shouldn't fly, but there are certain things that a lot of people don't think about when they just kind of throw up that general objection of, I hate insert airline here. And so what I would suggest is a couple different ideas that don't necessarily say, oh, you should fly Spirit, or oh, you should fly Frontier, but keep these things in mind before you instantly dismiss it. The most painful thing I hear about that is sometimes, as you know, we used to have a newsletter service where we found lots of trips, kind of like Scott's Cheap Flights or Pomelo Travel or Next Vacay. We still have that service, but it's closed down to any new members. It's only available to our coaching clients. But all of our legacy, thousands of subscribers that we have from the past, a most common thing that people say is, oh, all of your trips are Spirit. And sure, Spirit and Frontier tend to be the cheapest. But as you'll see, for one, Spirit has something called the big front seat. And this is basically, it's still, they don't have first class service, but they have first class seats. These are the same thing as first class seats in all of the big carriers. And when you travel the Jagut way, in other words, when you apply either Rule 1 or Rule 2, it is a piece of cake to get these seats for the low hundreds, if not under $100. So a general statement that just says, oh, I refuse to fly Spirit, you might be missing out on some very, very economical first class seats. It's not first class service. It's still Spirit. They still charge you for everything from bags to pretzels to drinks, but those are some pretty comfy seats. So that's just one example of something to consider. And, if the reason is because of being unprepared and paying more than you expected for bags or having uncomfortable seats, well, that might be one reason to not necessarily instantly dismiss Spirit as an option, because you can travel a lot more comfortably for a lot less by just keeping that one thing in mind. Now, another thing, which is a bigger reason to not just instantly dismiss a budget airline, is the fact that all of these airlines have a place in the food chain of the airline industry. And Spirit, Frontier, or Ryanair in Europe, all of them are low-cost carriers, and that is a good thing. That keeps costs down. So one of our clients posted this just as an example, and he says, perfect. This is Scott Ensley. He says, perfect example of a common concern. And he says in parentheses, I had it. Regarding great deals, anytime you see Spirit or an airline you don't like, just keep scrolling. Because again, if they set the lowest price and other airlines compete with them, well, guess what? You win. Don't instantly dismiss something just because the very first result in your search shows that it's an airline you don't like. Just scroll down and see how much more an airline you do like costs. Now, that doesn't apply just to coach seats too. When they're giving away coach seats, 30 or 40% of the time, they will also be giving away business class seats. So again, this is where you don't need any credit card points. You don't need any savvy travel skills. If they're giving away coach seats and the reason is that they just want extra butts in seats, well, they're probably giving away business or first class seats too. And that's where you can often find a business or first class seat for less than what most people will pay for their coach seat. Mindset shift number 2. This is one that I hear a lot as well, and they say, oh, I can't travel that way because I hate long layovers, or I hate red eyes, or whatever. So let's talk about long layovers, especially with international travel. I don't know if I gave an example of this. We'll see in a second. But if not, we get clients all the time who are flying to Asia, 12 to 14 hour flight. Or flying to Europe, that's an 8 to a 10 hour flight. And then you see how long the total flight time is. And sometimes, if that's Europe, if you see that that's a 16, 18 hour flight, okay, that's a long layover. 20 or 30 hour flight, that's a different story. That's a free stopover. Airlines charge for stopovers. Sometimes you have a layover that's long enough that it actually gets you a free stopover, and you can check out of the airport, drop your bags off for like $20, just check them with the airport, and go tour the country. You can check another country off your list for free. So again, it's all in how you look at it. And if you believe something can't be done, you will be right. If you believe it can be done, you'll also be right. Oh, well, here is an example. Mira flew business class to Brazil for $900. No points required. She used 0 points on this entire trip. The key here is she's always wanted to go to Rio, but she didn't find flights to Rio. She found flights to Sao Paulo. Now, most people will say, I don't want to go to Sao Paulo. I want to go to Rio. Well, I believe it was a $39 flight. So she took her 11 or 12 hour flight from New York to Sao Paulo, hung out in Sao Paulo for a day, and then hopped on a $39 flight to Rio. So again, if you were just thinking, well, I only want to go to Rio, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to pay a ton of money. You're not going to go on the dates you want, or it'll never happen because you've got your blinders on and you're only looking for that one option. Mira used the get yourself to the continent strategy, one of the strategies we teach inside our coaching program, and she flew there in business class round trip for $900. Most people will pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a coach flight. And here is Mira just sharing a quick tidbit on that trip.
And here is the summary. I'm really fast, apparently. So in summary, the normal flight, the normal lodging, the total would have been, if I wasn't a J-Good Lounge member, $7,200. I paid $2,700 for 2 people, okay? And that saved me $4,400. And now you tell me how much the lounge cost, okay? Because in that one trip, I saved more than I paid for the lounge, right? That's it. Simple. Easy.
Go where the deals are and spend a lot less.
Exactly.
Just a couple things I wanted to point out about this. The funny thing I noticed is most of these clips, the evil giggle that people share is just so telling. It doesn't matter how good you get at travel. It doesn't matter how often you travel in first class. It never gets old when you know that you're paying less than 99% of the people on the plane. And these are some of our coaches. These are clients. And I've just noticed there's just this evil little giggle that is so fun. And it never gets old. What else we got? Mindset shift number 3. I refuse to take red-eye flights. Again, this is usually because of someone's limited belief on the fact that they have to fly in coach. When you travel the J-Goot way, you never have to pay more than typical coach prices for business class flights. Like, that's the goal. We have a 12-week program, and at the end of 12 weeks, you will never have to pay more than coach prices for business or first class seats. So think about the mindset shift with that. So here's an example. I will gladly take the overnight flight when I can lie down and go to sleep versus stay awake the whole time in a cramped up coach seat. So here's another testimonial. Jerry has taken a couple business class trips to Thailand and to France. I think this was him telling about his experience flying in a private pod to France.
Got there and they asked me if I wanted to have dinner Yeah. Give me the menu. I order what I want it for dinner. They go, we'll be ready in about 20 minutes. I'll just recline back, a little bit and close my eyes for a minute. You know how you get when you think you missed something? You get all startled, you wake up, like 5 minutes, right? And the lighting's on. So I knew we hadn't gone too far. And the guy's coming down the aisle and he goes, "Oh, Mr. West, you're awake. Can I offer you breakfast?" I'm like, "Breakfast? Where's my dinner?" He goes, "Oh, you mean the plate we brought you 5.5 hours ago?" And you were out. I'm like, no way, it's been 5 minutes. Yeah. So we were actually getting ready to land in about 45 minutes. Had a great breakfast. And they even have a little lounge in the area. I didn't know that. You can go, if you have a friend, you can go kick back in these tables and seats and have a drink. Did you know that? Yeah.
In the first class lounge in the airplane?
Yes, it's above the first class it's up there. At the very front.
I should also point out that no points were required for that flight. Jerry paid less than half of what most people pay for coach to take that business class flight to, in that case, that was Paris, not Thailand. He shared two different stories in that interview. So let's talk about mindset shift number 4. This is another big one. And again, I see this all the time when friends are asking about how I travel and they make assumptions that they can't do it. We do because they have these circumstances that prevent them from doing it. And none of it's true unless you want them to be true. I hear this all the time. I have a big family, so we have to drive. I had a friend literally say they have 5 kids. And he said, I have 5 kids from 6 months to 6 years old. We won't be traveling for 18 months. And I said, just do this. Just watch. Like, where do you like to go? Where do you have family? I gave him like 6 places to just watch. And I said, I'm not even going to tell you what to do. Just watch those destinations. He's sent his wife on trips to go hang out with her sister and go get massages with her sister. They've flown family out so that they can go out for date nights. And they've flown family out for cheaper than what they would pay a babysitter so that they can go have date nights. All sorts of opportunities that open up to you when you just don't instantly dismiss an idea because you think that that's the only way it can be done. And so again, a lot of times this is just a mindset shift of how can I get around this objection that I've been telling myself all of my life that is a reason I can't travel. So here's an example from Ryan.
So we got, I don't know if you can see that.
That's Dallas to Vegas.
Yeah, Dallas, DFW Airport to Vegas. And this number is what blew my mind right here.
88 cents.
Outbound airfare. The airline made 88 cents. They had taxes and carrier and post fees was $10.10. So the total came to $10.98 for a ticket.
For 4 of you guys. So you paid $44.
For some people here, it cost them that, $10.98 just to get to the gas station. I don't know how they can make money doing that, but I'm not mad about getting on that plane. That's for sure.
Well, again, you are our new domestic flight record holder.
I don't doubt that place will be taken. I'm sure somebody will get it.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen some other ones that were like $11. I saw some that were $11 to go from DFW to about 3 or 4 places in Florida just 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
If you want to travel, there are plenty of ways to do it. So mindset shift number 5. Get this one all the time. I have no extra PTO. I can only travel when the kids are out of school. That's a very, very common one because that's when everyone travels. That's usually peak season, and that drives prices up. And if you travel like the rest of the 98% of the population, sure, that's true. If you travel the Jay Goot way, maybe this means you can, take your family and by leaving Thursday night instead of Friday night and taking an unpaid day off, you save $1,500. Well, if you make $500 or $600 in a day, you're coming out ahead by taking an unpaid day off. Again, this is an example of just a little bit of creative thinking can stretch your travel budget a lot farther. Another thing that's probably going on in a lot of people's heads is, well, yeah, but that's so much work to have to find that. When you travel the traditional way, yes, it is. When you look every day and every once in a while, you see a deal that jumps out at you because it's so stupid cheap, you can't help but look at at your calendar and see if you can make that trip work. You don't have to spend a ton of time analyzing all of that. Here's an example of a client who they are both teachers. And so I'll read her quote and then I'll just play a little quick snippet. So she says, as a travel obsessed parent and a teacher, I'm thrilled that I can search for deals during school breaks. We found such a great deal to Cabo over the winter holidays that we took the grandparents to. Yeah, tell me about, or tell viewers about your experience. So you, like when you saw Just Get Out of Town, what did you think at first? What was your experience? How long did it take to actually kind of believe what was getting sent to you?
Yeah. So when I started, it was through a link from a friend, a teacher friend. My husband and I are both teachers. So we did a lot. We do, I'm sure many people do, a lot of vacation fantasizing. So we really enjoyed the site to be able to search by breaks because that can be so expensive. And in the interest of looking for experiences over things, we've been trying to do more Christmases and things like that as some sort of experience. And so we were kind of keeping an eye open a couple of years ago now at Christmas, and we found a great deal. So the grandparents were invited and we gave each other the gift of some time together in Cabo. And it was perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you had some kind of free nannies along, right?
We did. We got to have New Year's out for once. I don't even know how long it had been before that. So we got to go out, enjoy the Cabo nightlife on our own on a New Year's. We stayed out past midnight. It was unheard of for us. So yeah, no, it was fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, so often people just assume, oh, I can't do it because I can only travel during the expensive times, but it's simply not true. Again, when you know how to find the cheapest 1 or 2% of deals, whole different set of rules applies. Let's see, mindset shift number 6. We deal with this all the time. I have status and I have to fly with X company, whether it's airlines or hotels or whatever. Sure, sometimes that's great, but my philosophy, now that I know how to travel in first class for 90 or 95% less than what most other people pay, I'm not going to take an 8 or a 10 or a 15-hour flight and risk not getting upgraded. So like people with status, what's funny is they're paying more on average to constantly fly with that airline. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a better price somewhere else. And so they're constantly spending more on the chance that they might get upgraded to first class. Well, if I'm flying 10 or 12 or 14 hours, I don't want to gamble sitting in coach. I want to guarantee that I'm sitting in a lie flat business class seat. Mindset shift number 7. I hear this all the time. I did this myself for years. And that's, I need to research to find just the right card, or I need to wait for the sign-up bonus until the sign-up bonus goes out. Like that was a response that inspired this extra post. And it's so common. People think like, oh, I've got to research this. I've got to research this. I've got to research this and find the best card. And next thing you know, it's 2, 3, 4 years later, and you found yourself stuck paying astronomical prices on vacations, all because you didn't just get started. So don't overthink this. Don't make a big deal out of it. Go and pick a Chase card as your next card. If you really want, you can go to jgut.com/cards and use our referral link. We also have another one that we recommend, the Amex Platinum. Either of those cards will take you farther than you can imagine. Let's talk about mindset shift number 8. The whole purpose of points is to get you out of binds, weddings, funerals, family reunions, class reunions. These are all trips that go to specific places at specific times, and odds are way higher that you're going to pay through the nose for that flight if you don't have points. But if you have points, you can say, no thanks, I'll go for free. You don't have the choice. You have to pay what the market will bear. But if you have points, you have the choice of saying, no thanks. So anyone who says it's not worth the trouble, well, how much trouble does it take when you have to go to an emergency event like that? And how much trouble does it take? I wish I pulled up the video of my parents who took 5 minutes to get a card and then got like 5 free flights out of the deal. So mindset shift number 8, along the same lines, I had a travel card, wasn't worth the trouble, or I prefer cash back. You could spend 50 grand over several years and get $500 cash back. You could throw that in a mutual fund and in like 10 years, it'll be worth a little over $1,000. You could take that same money, you could take a quarter of that money and earn 50,000 points easy. And with 50,000 points, you can fly 2 people to Hawaii, round trip. So for anyone who says it's not worth the trouble of going and getting a new card, these are examples of what points can do. That was $500 worth of cash back that I bought 4 $2,000 seats for. That's what points does for you. This was not 50,000 points. This was 70. And Andy flew on Emirates in a private suite. Andy is one of our coaches in our private paid coaching group. This was us in a Singapore suite. This was 50,000 points. You don't have this choice. You don't get to do these things until you go and get a card. So again, what I want you to do is go and get some points so that next time you find expensive flights that you don't want to pay for, you don't have to call travel agents or call someone else or email us and say, help, I can't find cheap flights. We can't help you unless you have points. So that is all I got. 8 mindset shifts, simple tweaks to how you look at objections that you might be making yourself that are holding you back from either cutting your travel budget by 90% or stretching it by 80 or 90%. I hope that was helpful.
That was fantastic, Joel. Thank you as always.
Well, thank you. Travel is one of the byproducts of being a part of our organization. And hey, what the heck? We deal with it how we can. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy travels.